A cheesy illusion, a gluten trap, and all of Thanksgiving crammed into a single forkful. We're diving into the frozen food aisle to rank chicken pot pies from the truly tragic to surprisingly tasty. The frozen dinner aisle hasn't exactly been friendly territory for the gluten-free crowd, and chicken pot pies are some of the worst offenders. With crusts made from wheat flour and gravies thickened with even more of it, they're practically gluten in a box. So when Marie Callender's released a chicken pot pie with a cauliflower crust, it seemed like a promising step toward a gluten-free option from a major brand. Unfortunately, that hope is short-lived. Despite the cauliflower crust, this pot pie is not gluten-free and doesn't claim to be. A look at the ingredient list reveals wheat flour still lurking in the gravy, and the box even states there's wheat in the crust. It's confusing, to say the least. Why go through the trouble of making a cauliflower crust if you're not removing the gluten? But the real disappointment sets in once it's cooked. The pie separated from its shell, with the gravy bubbling out and settling on top in a goopy mess. Texturally, it didn't improve things. The crust was dense and heavy, lacking the lightness of a traditional pastry, or even the earthiness of cauliflower. And the taste? More like bland, stale bread than anything remotely satisfying. It's not just misleading, it's forgettable. Banquet's chicken and broccoli pot pie might seem like a fun twist on a classic comfort food, especially for anyone craving a break from the usual pea and potato combo. But don't be fooled by the promise of variety or nutrition. While the label suggests a more veggie-forward filling, the actual broccoli content is sparse and mostly tasteless, offering little more than green flecks in a sea of gravy. And by swapping out the traditional peas and potatoes for those bland broccoli bits, Banquet ends up delivering fewer vegetables overall and even less flavor. Yes, the low price tag may be appealing. It's significantly cheaper than many name-brand frozen pot pies. But there's a reason for that. Instead of whole cuts of meat, Banquet uses chicken roll and mechanically separated chicken, a processed blend of reformed meat. It's more filler than filet, and it shows in both texture and taste. This pie is a classic case of getting what you pay for. The savings may be tempting, but if you care about what's actually in your food or how it tastes, this isn't the upgrade it pretends to be. Budget-friendly doesn't have to mean low quality, but in this case, that's exactly what's on the menu.
We start with our own savory gravy. Then we add carefully selected vegetables and government-inspected chicken or beef.
The Banquet chicken pot pie is the definition of a no-frills freezer meal. It's small, inexpensive, and exactly what you'd expect from a classic budget option. There's nothing fancy here, no bold flavors, no creative ingredients, but if you're just looking for something warm and filling in under 30 minutes, it fits the bill. Banquet advises slicing a vent into the crust before baking, though in reality, the pie often arrives with its edges already cracked or broken, allowing steam to escape on its own. Presentation isn't a strong suit here, and this definitely isn't the kind of dish you'd serve to impress a guest. It's more of a solo, I'm too busy to cook kind of dinner. That said, for its price point, it does have a small advantage over similar options. The chicken pieces inside were slightly larger and more noticeable than what we found in other bargain brand pies. Still, this is a meal of convenience, not quality, and it doesn't pretend to be anything more. Marie Callender's cheesy chicken and bacon pot pie surprises by delivering more cheese than the box lets on. Broccoli and bacon are present, but it's the rich, gooey cheese that steals the show, overflowing with every bite. Whether that's indulgent or overwhelming depends entirely on how much cheese you're really ready for.
I need something with cheese!
If you're in the mood for molten cheese disguised as dinner, this is your pie. Marie Callender's cheesy chicken and bacon pot pie delivers a gooey cheddar overload that drowns out nearly everything else. Yes, technically there's chicken and broccoli inside, but you'd be hard-pressed to taste or even spot them beneath the sea of cheese. The crust struggles to hold up, often turning soggy under the weight of the filling. It's not exactly a balanced chicken pot pie, more like a cheese bomb with a few bits of meat and veggies for decoration. That said, if you're feeding a cheese fanatic or craving something indulgent and melty, this one might hit the spot. Just don't expect nuance or variety. Swanson sits just a notch above Banquet in the world of budget frozen chicken pot pies, and the edge comes down to one key detail: the chicken. While Banquet may appear to offer more chunks, Swanson's filling tastes better thanks to its use of ground chicken instead of mechanically separated meat. That means fewer byproducts like bone and tissue, and more actual meat, an upgrade that matters in both flavor and quality. At a glance, Swanson and Banquet pot pies are nearly indistinguishable. They look alike, cook the same way, and even share similar packaging, which isn't surprising since both are owned by Conagra brands. But that slight change in how the chicken is sourced makes Swanson the better pick if you're choosing between the two. Nutritionally, Swanson also comes out ahead in some areas, with lower sodium, cholesterol, and carbohydrate counts compared to Banquet, though it does contain slightly more fat. Still, if you're shopping in the bargain freezer section and want the better of two very similar pies, Swanson is the smarter option. If you spotted the apostrophe in chicken, you probably guessed this pie isn't serving real chicken. And you'd be right. Marie Callender's chicken pot pie is the only fully vegetarian option on our list, swapping out poultry for Gardine's plant-based meat alternative. The rest of the filling sticks to the classic lineup: carrots, peas, celery, and onions, all tucked into a flaky crust. For vegetarians, it's a welcome addition to the freezer aisle. But for meat eaters or those new to meat substitutes, manage your expectations. The chicken doesn't quite mimic the taste or texture of actual chicken, and it's not trying to. It's a different experience entirely, one that might take some getting used to if you're not already on the plant-based train.
Everything tastes like chicken.
The texture of the chicken is noticeably different from real chicken, enough so that first-timers may find it off-putting. Oddly, there's not much of it in the pie to begin with, making it easy to avoid, though that raises the question of why you'd choose this option at all. Still, we give Marie Callender's credit for offering a plant-based alternative and making vegetarian pot pies more accessible in the frozen aisle. Marie Callender's continues to lead the frozen pot pie game, often offering more variety than other brands in the freezer aisle. Among its lineup of chicken-based options, the creamy mushroom chicken pot pie stands out as the most inventive take on the classic. It keeps the traditional pot pie structure intact: tender chicken, flaky crust, hearty vegetables, but introduces a richer, earthier flavor profile that leans heavily on mushrooms. This isn't a pie for the mushroom-averse. The flavor is bold, thanks to both sliced mushrooms and mushroom powder blended into the creamy gravy. Green beans replace the usual peas, shifting the sweetness to a more grounded, savory tone that works well with the other ingredients. Carrots remain, adding a bit of color and texture contrast. Though this pie may not win over picky eaters or those lukewarm on fungi, it's a thoughtful twist that doesn't feel gimmicky. Instead, it feels like a more grown-up, comfort-forward version of a childhood favorite. While we ranked it near the middle due to its niche appeal, it's a satisfying option for anyone looking for something familiar, yet just different enough to feel fresh, without straying too far from the comfort food formula. If you live outside the Northeast, you might not find these chicken pot pie bites from ShopRite's store brand, in basket, but similar versions often exist in other grocery chains. These bites pack all the classic chicken pot pie flavors into small, crispy puff pastry pockets. Unlike traditional frozen pot pies, these bite-sized treats deliver a satisfying mix of tender chicken, veggies, and rich gravy inside a flaky, buttery crust. They come neatly arranged in an oven-safe plastic tray that you can pop directly onto a baking sheet. No fussing with individual pieces. While they don't have extra breading or fillers, biting into one offers the comforting experience of a full Thanksgiving-style meal wrapped in a delicate pastry shell. Perfect as a snack or appetizer, these pot pie bites offer a convenient, flavorful way to enjoy pot pie without the mess or weight of a full-sized pie. They're surprisingly tasty and sure to warm you up on any chilly day. It's surprising this pot pie doesn't highlight bacon in its name, as bacon's bold flavor truly dominates and elevates every single bite.
Bacon.
Combining corn chowder flavors with chicken pot pie is a clever twist, but the addition of bacon crumbles really takes it to the next level, assuming pork fits your diet. While the bacon pieces aren't as abundant as the box suggests, their smoky richness clearly shines through in the gravy, adding depth to every bite. If you're worried about ending up with a soggy mess, don't be. Marie Callender's chicken corn chowder pot pie sticks closer to a classic, thick pot pie gravy rather than a thin, soupy chowder. This means the crust stays firm and doesn't get overwhelmed by liquid. In fact, this pie contains more solid filling than many others in the frozen section, making it one of the least runny options out there. For those seeking a hearty, flavorful pot pie with a unique twist, this one is a solid choice. When it comes to classic chicken pot pies, Boston Market's frozen version stands out as the top choice. Packed with generous chunks of tender all-white meat chicken and the usual mix of corn, carrots, and peas, it also adds celery and onions for extra depth. The gravy is richer and creamier than most, thanks to the addition of half and half blended into the chicken stock. What really sets this pie apart, though, is the crust. Not only does it feature a charming decorative edge, but it also bursts with flavor, something rare for frozen pot pies. The crust strikes a perfect balance, feeling fresh out of the oven while offering a savory and slightly sweet taste that surpasses most competitors, whose crusts often taste bland. Although it requires more baking time than others, the superior taste and texture make Boston Market's pot pie well worth the extra minutes.